Lock, and I'm your host for B Limitless. Here in the studio today, we have not one, but two very exciting guests, and, well, they're here at kind of an interesting time. In a sense, their fate is going to be determined within the next 24 hours or so. But before I tell you more about that, please allow me to introduce to you Jade Donnelly and Rebecca Kopp. Hi guys, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy days. Rebecca, I'll start with you. You are majoring in political science and minoring in Economics, that's right. Thank you for your help. Tell me a little bit about where you see that taking you and what you're going to do in the future.
Absolutely. So first, I absolutely love political science. It's everywhere around us, and I think it's very important for people to be informed about politics since it kind of entails everything and it has a lot of facets to it. And I love economics because it is very black and white, and I do enjoy learning about numbers and kind of like the circulation of money and how money is all around us as well. But as far as a career, I know. As far as a career goes though, I do really want to go into law. And I've been looking at a lot of law schools on the East Coast, specifically Washington, D.C.
Okay, and whereabouts is that? So Washington, D.C., is it right next to the White House?
George Washington University Law School, which I've been looking at, is right next to the White House. It's about 4 blocks away.
Okay, and you're already just bringing all your stuff over there so you can move in later?
Absolutely, of course, why not? D.C. is one of my favorite cities of all time.
Oh, perfect. And how did you find yourself on this particular path?
You know, I would say roughly in my high school years, I found a passion for law, and I was just so fascinated with attorneys and especially business law. So I've met with a ton of different attorneys from all angles, just kind of talked with several people in regards to law to kind of figure out if it's something that I would be passionate about and if I could see myself doing it for the rest of my life. And it just kind of sparks this light in me every time I talk about it, and I just enjoy it thoroughly. So I'm super excited.
Well, you seem really excited about it. And Jade, comm with an emphasis in media studies and journalism, and then 2 minors, one in gender studies and the other in sociology. That is quite the combination you have there.
It is.
How did you find yourself on that path?
I think it goes back to high school as well, just as Rebecca said. I'm not a math science-based person. I've always been an English history kind of person. So I realized that I was a skilled writer, and that was something that I definitely wanted to continue into my college career. I came in as just a comm major, period, no emphasis, and throughout the courses I took, I really found that writing is my favorite part of it. So we had an emphasis in journalism, and I've been doing really well with that. I really enjoy that kind of writing. And then I just added the 2 minors this past semester. I find sociology and humans and our interactions fascinating. I love reading people. Just as people say they like people watching, that's pretty much that's pretty much it. I'm getting my minors in people watching. But yeah, that's just kind of where it came from.
And what about gender studies?
Gender studies, I have, my favorite classes that I've taken have been within sociology, but mainly geared towards gender studies. So feminist theory, feminist research methods, gender studies, just, I don't know, there's a connection there, and the history of gender studies is really fascinating, and we focus a lot about how women have come into our society and really made a lot of progress for us, and I think that's why I'm interested in it. We get to study the history of women and powerful women and the changes in our society, and that's fascinating to me. So.
And what career are you thinking that will lead you to?
Sociology mixed with my ability to write really kind of gives me a wide range of things I can do. I know I'm gonna get my master's in public admin or social justice, and so I'll somehow use the writing skills and really use that love for human interaction and progress. So I'll do something along those lines.
Right, to benefit a lot of people is what I'm hearing from the both of you. Is you have an interest in being able to move the people around you forward with your understanding of the topics that you're really passionate about. And what I really like is you've taken the initiative to start now. I mentioned before, or I think I did at least, the two of you are running for ASBSU president and ASBSU vice president, and the next 24 hours could essentially determine if you're going to have those roles or not. Voting is taking place right now as we're filming, March 16th, 2016, and how are you looking forward to being able to move on from that and not really knowing exactly where it's taking you at this point?
I think, to be honest, we were just counting down the minutes until it's over, until midnight hits. But it's a very exciting time. I think as of right now, the fate is in the hands of the voters. So, I mean, as of right now, it's just kind of, we're leaving it up to the voters. That's all I can say.
That's kind of that's the attitude we have to have towards it. You know, we've done all we could. We've campaigned. We've been campaigning for weeks now. So really, we've just encouraged everyone to vote, reminding them that the process is really easy. So pretty much all we're doing at this point is making sure that everyone is voting and using, you know, their ability to vote. So it's up to them if they want to. So
exactly. And what has this process taught you about the power of one and knowing that you can influence someone's life in such an impactful way, where you guys have worked for this for so long, and now, I mean, we're actually in an election season right now. So how has that transferred over into understanding people's power on what you can accomplish, like as a mass?
I think before I got involved with ASBSU, I didn't really think they had very much power in voicing the students' opinions on various things. And then I came in my sophomore year, noticed a lot of structural issues, and it really wasn't being utilized for what it could be potentially doing. And so this past year, I've been the assembly speaker. And so I basically preside over the assembly, which is like a Senate per se. And we've just been passing tons of legislation on behalf of students' issues and concerns. And the year before, there was no legislation being passed whatsoever. And I think just the work that I've put into it this year, I've come to realize that we do have a lot of power in changing the lives of students at this university, even if it's just a few lives. It's changing their experience at the overall university, so it's impacting them, and it's great to see that.
Will you tell me a little bit more about what the role of president and vice president of ASBSU is? I was in one of my classes actually yesterday, to be honest with you, and they were talking about how they didn't really understand what the benefits were for students to have people in that position.
That's a great question. Jade and I kind of ran on a dual partnership per se. So she's my vice president, I'm the president. You kind of get this connotation that the vice president won't be doing a whole lot of stuff and that she'll just kind of just do the things that like I'm too busy for, but we truly just want to be there for the students and have that dual access to us so that all students can have not just one person to reach out to, but two. But we do have a lot of power in changing the experience at the university. We meet with the administration on a weekly basis, and we are enacting different legislation on behalf of those issues. We've just pushed 2 bills through the legislature this past week. One was an MIP appeal process, where after 5 years, if you do have an MIC or an MIP on your record, you can now have it appealed and have it taken off of your record, so it's not there for your entire lifetime, which is good. It's a great start. And then we did just push through another bill, and it's called the Medical Amnesty Bill. So if you're underage drinking and you kind of find yourself in a predicament where you need assistance in any way, you can call for help and you won't get in trouble for underage drinking.
Oh, wow.
Which is very important because there's a lot of students who do get in those situations where they do need help, but they won't call for help because they'll get in trouble.
Yeah, so it just kind of bypasses that worry that people have.
And we want students to feel safe here, so.
Absolutely. And so are you working with like Idaho legislators?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
So not just at the student body level, but you're actually taking it one step further?
We do currently have a position, it's called Secretary of External Affairs, and she actually actually is at the Capitol about 3 days out of the week pushing for different bills and legislation on behalf of the university. So it's really exciting. And what Jade and I are running on is adding an additional position called the student lobbyist, where their sole job would be at the Capitol pushing for students' issues and concerns and kind of fixing them at the state level.
Oh my gosh. So you guys are essentially that liaison between the student body and not just the administration, but our state representatives as well.
Exactly.
How do people contact the ASBSU if they have an issue that they feel like needs to be addressed?
So we do have a website that students can go to, and it shows our email address on there. But students are also more than welcome to attend the assembly meetings, which are every Wednesday at 4:30. They're all held in the Student Union building, and everyone is more than welcome to come there. And that's just a time when we are discussing issues and concerns that students are having. And then I do open the floor at the very end of the meetings for students who are not currently assembly members to come share thoughts that they have about the university.
Okay, in ways that it can be improved or changed.
Or if they have an issue, they can share that with us as well.
Okay, and well, I was at the debate a couple days ago where you guys were talking about some of the things that you want to implement and how you want to have more organizations on campus involved. And can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a member on Student Assembly, which Rebecca here oversees basically, or facilitates, I should say. And one of the jobs of the vice president, so myself, if elected, is to oversee assembly. So instead of having a assembly speaker, we're now going to put it under vice president. So one of the other restructuring within Student Assembly is that we want to pull from specific populations, specific communities, just so we get a wide range of people and voices and opinions, because we are making a lot of changes on this campus, and it's really hard to make an informed decision if we're only hearing one side of it. So now we're gonna really encourage different communities, different representatives within those communities to apply to be on Student Assembly, and they can really represent their community and get their voice heard. And so that's another way to contact us. Really, there are about 30 people on Student Assembly. If you approach any one of them, I can assure you that they'll lobby on your behalf, or Rebecca and I are here always. So, yeah.
So your job, from what I'm hearing, probably the hardest part would be when people's ideologies, or maybe these groups that you have to represent, don't necessarily align with your particular viewpoints. And you guys are both obviously very informed and probably very dedicated to the things that you are passionate about. So how do you feel like you're going to be able to balance that in the future if you were to get that role?
I think both Rebecca and I are really skilled at communicating. I think that's the one thing you really have to be as a leader. You have to be able to communicate with different groups, and you have to encourage communication between the two of them. So really, we're here to advocate and facilitate. That's what ASBSU stands for. I think that's one of the main benefits of that sociology minor, just studying that and just comm in general. And then I feel like our experience, we've already started dealing with those things and really seen all of those changes and conflicts. And for the most part, all of them have been fixed, or the tension has been alleviated. So I feel just our communication skills, having different contacts in different departments and areas of campus also really helps. So if there's a problem in just per se multicultural students in ASBSU, we have contacts in both of them, and so those connections really help.
Have to find that balance, really.
Absolutely, and they can come together, and they always seem to find time to meet. And if we need advice from anyone, heads of departments are so great, and the people in gender equity and multicultural and everything like that, they're so helpful. So, yeah.
So probably advice that you would give for someone that's kind of trying to balance a situation where they need to represent a larger organization or have their cards or their hands on both tables. I don't know. What's a good, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give for them to be able to balance? You said communication and just honestly being able to talk about things openly. Yeah. Is there any other advice that you think you would give to people that are dealing with that kind of situation?
I would honestly say that you just need to be as informed as possible. This entire year we've had several concerns come to the table, and as the assembly speaker, it's kind of my job to make sure that everyone hears both sides of the situation. And when I do go to administration to push for those issues that students are having, it's my job to show both sides of the situation, because we do try our best to be neutral in every situation, but I think being informed is crucial.
I think empathy is also important. Just because if we are talking about both sides of it and you're only standing on one side the entire time, you're not going to understand. And one of the reasons you should be informed and you're communicating with the other group is to really understand them. So if you're not understanding and you're not empathizing and you're not seeing it from their side, no progress is going to be made. So we really encourage people to kind of step back, take off their social blinders, really think about it from the other side and how the other group could feel. So being informed, absolutely. Being empathetic to those groups is also vital to accomplishing anything.
And I think we were talking about this before, is how it's really important to see that end goal and knowing that we all kind of essentially, we're kind of trying to get to the same place. It's just a matter of different ways that we think that we should be going. So it's just kind of keeping that eye on the prize. And sometimes you have to compromise some things in order to achieve other things, just finding that balance.
Yeah.
Okay. And I kind of want to bring it back now to the question that I asked before. You guys are at the very end of your campaign. Voting is taking place right now. There's nothing more that you can do. We've talked a lot about all the great things that you've accomplished and kind of how your whole lives have built up to this one event, or at least your college career.
College career,
Very
for
much
sure,
so.
yeah.
What are some things that you're doing in order to keep yourself level, or how do you see
I think just kind of sharing the madness a little bit. We're spending a lot of time together because we both understand where we're at right now.
No one is going through the same thing we're going through right now. So
we've also been communicating with candidates in the other officer positions. That's helpful. I think we're all just kind of freaking out a little bit at the, under the surface.
I described that we were kind of like ducks earlier on the above the surface, like we're okay, but like underneath the surface, we're like not okay.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Trying to get you to where you're so. Do you have any advice for people that are applied for a job and are waiting for a callback, or are waiting, maybe even high school graduates that are waiting to see if they'll get into the college that they want to get into? Do you have any advice on how to manage those?
I honestly think if it's a partner thing, you really have to have someone that balances you. I think that's something we excel at. She's more of is thinking all the time, and she kind of worries a lot.
Thinker.
Yeah, so she's always
I'm the critical thinker.
Her brain's always working, which can add a lot of stress. And then I'm the one that kind of just sits back and says everything's fine, it's moving, we can't do anything about it, let's everyone just kind of calm down. So if you're in a partnership, that's honestly great, just find someone that balances you. But yeah, if you're waiting for your acceptance letters, your callback, your job interview, I think just staying calm, do everything you can up until that point. Make sure you're making grades, make sure everything's turned in, make sure you've answered all the questions, done all the requirements, for whatever you're doing. And then as soon as it's turned in, or as soon as the interview's done, just leave it at that. You can't do anything else after that. So just really try to calm down, I think.
Try to focus on other things as well, to get your mind off of it.
Yeah, because that's where we're at right now. We've done everything, and now it's at the standstill. So you can't keep freaking out and overthinking everything. You kind of just have to accept it. It's over, and we'll find out soon enough.
And what role does positive self-talk play into this? Because I know personally it's really easy to get kind of down and out about yourself and say, well, I don't deserve it, I'm not worth it, even though like you guys, you've taken every single opportunity to improve yourself to a point where you do feel like you're qualified to take on these positions. So how do you have to keep reestablishing the fact that you do deserve it? It's just a matter of whether or not people are going to agree with you, or if it's going to be the right path for you.
Yeah. Campaigning is a very vulnerable time. Yeah. So I definitely empathize with everyone who's running for actual political office right now.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's a very crazy time. But I think that we just have a great support system that's always there for us. If we do have a moment where we're like, oh, what did we get ourselves into? We either we're with each other 24/7, or we've got someone else by our side that's like, you know what, like, you can do this. We believe in you. And I think it's not just it's also giving yourself positive talk, but surrounding yourself with people who truly support you and truly care for you. And I think that helps a lot.
Having that circle of people that say, yes,
yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, it's
You're
okay.
doing okay. And even if you don't necessarily make it, then you've still done all these awesome things to build you into the person that you are.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. Well, the next thing it's kind of a touchy subject, but like I said, I was at the debates. The other candidates running for this position were incredible. They were brilliant. They had some great answers, and you guys held your own as well. But there is a chance that you might not receive the titles that you've been vying for. How do you deal, or how do you see that changing the path that you're on?
Well, we already said we were going to move.
Transfer.
Yeah,
we're out.
Yeah, we're out. I think we have been working so hard for these positions just because we've proven that we can make a lot of changes on this campus, and the positions we have now are great. We get to make a few changes, but president and vice president obviously oversee everything. So that's really what we want. That's our end goal for sure. If we don't, though, I think that the other candidates and ourselves had kind of the same focuses, which makes me hopeful regardless. Kind of where we differed were our plans and ideas on how to combat those. I think we'll still, well, I can only speak for myself. I think I'll still be involved in ASBSU at some level, or join more organizations, get involved in other aspects, but absolutely I'll still be very involved on the campus. So.
And what about?
I would second that. I would still be involved in ASBSU because it's been something that I've been so passionate about, and I've seen this tremendous growth in it in just the past year, and I honestly cannot wait to see the things that ASBSU accomplishes. Even what Brian and Nick have done this past year, they have put us on this path to essentially greatness. And I honestly just cannot wait to see the things that whoever is next elected will accomplish, and will keep building this pathway for ASBSU.
And who are Brian and Nick, if you don't mind me asking?
Brian Garrettson is the current student body president, and Nick Propp is the current vice president.
Oh, okay, perfect.
They've really laid a really solid foundation. And I think that since we've been a part of it through their year, through their term, we really know where it's going, and we know kind of the plans, and they've left us with a lot of great starts. And I think that we're two people that can really see all of these changes through, and I think that if given the opportunity, we'll be able to make a ridiculous amount of changes just because of what they've left us with.
So you have some big shoes to fill.
Absolutely.
Is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
I would say so.
And if you were to receive the titles and you guys were president and vice president of ASBSU, what are some things that you would change? I know, like I said before, you guys have already kind of started your path. You haven't waited until you had the formality of earning a title. It's been, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm going to keep doing. That's what I'm hearing, at least. But under that particular role, or having those titles, what do you think you will do differently?
So we have 3 focuses mainly, and it's involvement, diversity, and transparency. So we talked a little bit about diversity, really changing up student government. So we have a wide array of opinions and issues coming through. I think our main focus is really making Boise State a closer community. So involvement is huge. And I think our focus is to really connect all the clubs and organizations on campus, bring non-Greek and Greek traditional and non-traditional students together, and really just form a tight-knit community on this campus. So we want to make it as easy as possible to get involved, to include every student that wants to be. And so I think that's our main focus for sure. That's the one change we really want to make sure that we see through.
And kind of like the behind the scenes of that, since there has been a lot of structural changes in ASBSU, Jade and I have been able to oversee all of those changes. We do really want to build on those foundations for next year, just so that ASBSU is effectively and efficiently representing the student body to its fullest potential.
Well, and you guys hit on the fact that you want people to be involved. How do you recommend people go about finding a group that they can be involved in? Because I'm reading a book right now, and I think I told you guys this before in an email that I sent you, by an author named Paul Keevil, I believe is his last name. But anyways, he touched on the fact in his book that people know that there's a need to be involved. They know that they should be involved, but there's a fear of failure or not thinking that you are enough to make a difference. How have you guys overcome that?
I think that hits really close to home for me. I think that's something that Rebecca and I talk about fairly often, is that freshman year I didn't get involved and I wasn't necessarily interested in putting myself out there. I was almost kind of like you're fighting, you know, I didn't want to be involved at all, kind of fighting all of those temptations. And I don't really know why that was. I think that it is that fear aspect where people aren't going to accept you, or you're not going to find that place, so maybe just stick with where you're at right now, because where you're at is great, or fine, I should say. But once you conquer that internally, it is easy to get involved here, but we are going to work to make it easier, make sure that everyone is aware of all the clubs and organizations. We have a wide range of things, from the political science club to crafting for a cause to Greek organizations to after work programs. Like, there are so many places to get involved, and it is an intimidating process, and I think we're really going to work on making it less intimidating, making sure we have contacts in all of these clubs. So if a student approaches either of us and they tell us their interests or what projects they like, we'll have a contact in a certain club where they're really going to thrive in and they're going to enjoy their experience. And I think that's really important, is to really find your niche here. And it is difficult, but you got to put yourself out there at some point.
Well, and the clubs here are really credible too.
Absolutely.
We have, it was just last month or something, I saw you at Dance Marathon, and our school raised the most money in the entire country for Children's Miracle Network Hospital, like out of any time ever, right? Like a record amount?
On the side of Colorado, right?
Yeah, on the west of Colorado.
Oh, west of, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay, west of
Which
Colorado.
is still
Amazing.
incredible.
It was like $114,000 that we, so there are ways to get in. There are so many people there. So if you're looking for friends or to network or to have more of a community, then I think you're right. Having an organization that you can connect with is definitely the way to go.
Absolutely. And not even if you can't find a club on this campus, we do have over 200 clubs. But if you just can't find the one that's best suited for you, you can create one, which is very awesome. And a lot of students don't know that. I mean, when we were campaigning these past few weeks, we actually ran into a few students who were very passionate about certain things that
Jared and classical dancing.
And classical dancing. This kid didn't have he couldn't find a classical dance club on campus. And we're like, guess what? You can create one. So if you can't find something, like, you have the opportunity to create it.
Yeah, take charge and make your club.
Take charge and
instead of finding your niche, just go make it.
Go make it. Well, you guys obviously have excellent vision for the future. And I'll say it again, you guys, I love how you didn't wait until you had the formality of a title. You took advantage of the opportunities that were presented in front of you, and you just ran with them. And I think that's awesome. And I think that's about all the time we have for today. But thank you again for coming on Be Limitless. Jade, Donnelly, Rebecca Kopp, I look forward to seeing you in the future.
Of course. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. And to you at home, remember, one day you're going to look back on your life. Make today the day that you look at and say, that's where it all began. Thanks for tuning in to Be Limitless. I'm Brittany Lock, and we'll see you next time.